Hello, thank you for joining us on today's webinar, Giving Tuesday, Donor Engagement Essentials. Here at MobileCause, we're committed to supporting you, whether it's running your organization, planning your fundraising initiatives, or better connecting with your donors. And with Giving Tuesday being one of the most impactful giving days of the year, we wanted to give you the tools to win over the hearts and minds of your supporters and be the nonprofit of choice on this International Day of Giving. As always, we'll be sending a recording of this webinar and the webinar slides to all registrants via email. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit those into the questions panel. So without further ado, let me introduce today's panel of speakers. Jessica Schneider is the Director of Strategy and Collaboration for the founder of Giving Tuesday, 92nd Street's WISE Center for Innovation. Jessica has led countless nonprofits to success with her insight and expertise on this global day of giving. Amy DeVita is COO of Top Nonprofits. She has been quoted on pieces about social media and social impact on the Huffington Post and the Daily Beast, and was named to the leading women entrepreneurs in New Jersey Monthly, and was also a member of social media for Nonprofits Leadership Council. Jeremy Koenig is the Creative Director and Product Marketing Expert here at MobileCause. Jeremy has supported thousands of nonprofits with highly effective donor engagement and fundraising strategies. And now, they are excited to bring you an information-filled agenda today that will leave you confident to kick off your planning for an amazing Giving Tuesday campaign. During this webinar, you will learn must-have elements for a successful Giving Tuesday campaign, top 5 Giving Tuesday social media tips, how to inspire your supporters to expand your reach, and you'll hear a replicable story of success by a fellow nonprofit, Teen Challenge. At the end, we will have a Q&A session to answer your questions. And again, please submit your questions into the questions box of your control panel during the presentation. But first, let's take a quick poll. So our first poll question, or our poll question today, is actually, what is the biggest challenge that you've faced so far on Giving Tuesday? Promoting your cause, creating compelling content, collecting donations, connecting with donors after they give, or maybe you've not participated yet with Giving Tuesday. All right, excellent. Well, it looks like the winner here is 32% having not participated yet in Giving Tuesday. Out of those of you that have, it looks like creating compelling content comes in at 27%. Promoting your case or cause is 18%. Then collecting donations is 16% responses. And then connecting with donors after they give with only 6%. Excellent. Thanks for your participation there. All right, let's move on to our presentation content. So first up, we have Jessica Schneider, Director of Strategy and Collaboration, Belfer Center for Innovation and Social Impact. We'll be looking ahead to Giving Tuesday 2017. All yours, Jessica.
Thank you, and thank you to MobileCause for inviting me to participate in the webinar today. This year, Giving Tuesday is on November 28th, and over the next few minutes, I'm just going to share a broad overview of the movement, some successes we've seen, and what we're expecting going into year 6. So just quickly, a little bit of the background of Giving Tuesday. As mentioned, I work at the 92nd Street Y. We are a 143-year-old community and cultural center on the Upper East Side of New York City, and I'm in our Center for Innovation and Social Impact. And for most of 92Y's history, we've served a very local community, but our center is really charged with taking 92Y's mission and expanding it outside of New York City and globally in the case of Giving Tuesday. And we run a number of different programs, but our largest and the one that really informs all the work we do is Giving Tuesday. And we had the idea for Giving Tuesday back in 2012. And from the beginning, the ask has been very simple. Plan an activation on or around the Tuesday after Thanksgiving to benefit a nonprofit. And from the start, it was completely free and open, cause agnostic, platform agnostic. We just wanted to get people giving and talking about giving. We set a very modest goal of 100 organizations our first year, and ultimately we had 2,500 partners run Giving Tuesday campaigns. And just thinking about the number of people that are going to be listening to this recording, I mean, this dwarfs the number of people we had participating the first year of Giving Tuesday, so that's very exciting for us. This will be the 6th Giving Tuesday. I'm assuming a lot of you have heard of Giving Tuesday before, but I also know that 32% of you are new to participating, so that's really exciting for us. But the basic gist of Giving Tuesday is that we have these 2 days for getting deals, Black Friday and Cyber Monday. They're days that the retail community has realized that by coming together, they could really kind of grow the pie for everyone. And Giving Tuesday is the same idea. It's a day for giving back and really bringing together the philanthropic community, and not just in the US, but around the globe. And it's a day really when millions of people come together to support and champion the causes they believe in, the communities that they live in. At its heart, Giving Tuesday demonstrates how every act of generosity counts and how they mean even more when we give together. So with that background, let's jump in and look at some results. So the $177 million you see there was just dollars raised online in the 24 hours of Giving Tuesday. And as you know, a campaign is much longer than one day. There's online, there's offline. So that 177 is really just a snapshot. It does not come close to capturing the breadth of what happens on Giving Tuesday. But the reason we like to capture it every year is for that chart on the right, just so we have something to benchmark ourselves against and see how much we're growing. We were 116 million in 2014 to 177 million last year, and very excited to see where we end up this year. So donations are a huge part of Giving Tuesday. I never want to downplay donations. It's why we're all here today. Nonprofits need money, and we like to see you guys taking full advantage of Giving Tuesday in that respect. But there are so many ways people can give. They give with their time, their voice, and even with the traditional fundraising campaign, we encourage you to think if there are additional ways to engage your donors, just for advocacy, for volunteerism. And this image you see here is part of a much larger infographic we made after Giving Tuesday this past year to just show the tiny fraction of people giving time or expertise, food, clothing, or even just simple acts of kindness. So Giving Tuesday is kind of at its heart about uniting communities. And last year in particular, and I think we're going to continue to see this this year, organizations and people, of all political leanings, of all backgrounds, of all cultures, really embrace Giving Tuesday and the idea that giving is a universal value, that giving demonstrates just the underlying goodness in people. And there's no right or wrong way for organizations to participate in Giving Tuesday. I encourage you to be creative, but I will say that nonprofits that embrace this celebratory ethos, this idea of unity, tend to do very well on the day. And one of the coolest and most heartwarming manifestations of this community idea are our Giving Tuesday community campaigns. Last year, organizations, businesses, schools, governments in over 80 cities, states, and counties came together on Giving Tuesday to shine a light, to celebrate, just encourage giving in their communities. This is everywhere from really, really minuscule towns like Bethel, Alaska, to kind of slightly larger towns like Newton, Kansas, to Charlotte in Illinois. So we have a map of all of these on our website, givingtuesday.org. Happy to connect you with a leader in your community. If there isn't a community leader where you are and you want to step up and be that force, we have someone on our team available to answer questions and support you throughout that process. I also want to mention that Giving Tuesday is really a global movement. We had activities in close to 100 countries last year, and there are 30 full-fledged, over 30, I think now we're at 35 full-fledged Giving Tuesday movements around the world. Everything from Giving Tuesday Panama, Giving Tuesday Slovenia, Giving Tuesday Kenya, Giving Tuesday India, Norway, and Rwanda signed on just in the past few weeks. This is amazing to see. These countries don't have a tradition of Thanksgiving or Black Friday, but they've really embraced Giving Tuesday as the first truly global day of giving. And I think there's something really powerful to know that on Giving Tuesday, people all over the world are giving back together. And I want to include the image on the right. You can see how all the countries kind of take the Giving Tuesday heart and made it their own. We love to see organizations, companies, countries take the logo, make it their own, and really own a piece of the movement. You are welcome to be as creative as you want. People often run things by us, and we're always like, just go, go, go. You're also welcome to take the hashtag and make it your own. Organizations often add a secondary hashtag, like University of Michigan always does Giving Blue Day. Dress for Success always does Giving Shoes Day. So just feel feel unbridled, that you can kind of go out and do whatever you want to feel like Giving Tuesday really belongs at your organization. And just kind of playing off of that, the fact that Giving Tuesday has a hashtag, that's a very deliberate choice. We believed at the beginning, and now we have the data to back up, that people want to talk about positive things on social media and things that matter to them. Giving Tuesday always trends. Number one, there's always a halo the days before and after. We trended ahead of Cyber Monday for most of Cyber Monday this past year. It's really powerful to see the conversation happening online of people discussing philanthropy and giving in an intentional and meaningful way, talking about why they support the organizations and causes they do. And as MobileCause will get into more, how those online conversations can really drive donations. And I always like to point out as well that, especially for people in the nonprofit world, we know Giving Tuesday, we get lots of emails in our inbox, but there are people who are very disconnected from the philanthropic world who don't know Giving Tuesday is happening, who aren't typical donors. But they're going to go online, they're going to go to their Facebook pages, they're going to go on Twitter, they're going to turn on the news the morning of Giving Tuesday, and something's going to be happening. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people use Giving Tuesday as an opportunity to try to reach new donors, new volunteers, just bring in a new constituency into their organization. So just something to keep in mind, that if you're totally tuned out to the nonprofit world on a typical day, Giving Tuesday is a day where it's kind of forced upon you, and think about how you can take advantage of that fact. And again, MobileCause will get into much greater detail about that. And while we're on social media, I just want to end by mentioning there's also traditional media. The vast majority of Giving Tuesday stories, TV, news, local news, national news, all of that is driven by local organizations like you guys listening today. We do our part as well, but we had about 10,000 media hits in the top 100 markets last year, many more in smaller markets. Those are coming from organizations like yours who are using Giving Tuesday to talk about their organization's work. So social media is huge, but also think about traditional media and maybe using Giving Tuesday as an opportunity to pitch your organization and reach a new audience. So I'm just going to end by saying that it's planning time. It's great you're tuning in today, getting ready for the big day, and you are welcome to go check out our website, givingtuesday.org. There are lots of resources, tools, case studies, everything you need to start planning your campaign. You can sign to be listed on our website, and then you also start receiving our newsletter. And I'll end by saying we have a blog, and we're always looking for really great campaigns to highlight. So as your Giving Tuesday plans come together and you have a story you want to share, please let us know. We'd love to have it up there. And with that, I will turn it back over to MobileCause.
Excellent. Thanks, Jessica. Next up is Amy DeVita, COO for Top Nonprofits, who is going to be discussing harnessing the power of social media for Giving Tuesday. Take it away, Amy.
All right. Hi. Thanks so much. It's good to be here, and I want to say thank you very much to MobileCause for the invitation to join. This is awesome and so hugely important. And in that vein too, thanks Jessica and 92nd Street Y for starting this movement, which has really been amazing and something that everybody is buzzing about. So it's exciting to see how many folks have signed up for today's webinar, and really the results of that too, that earlier poll. So we'll definitely be going back to that. A little bit about what I'm going to be covering today. Talking about harnessing the power of social media for Giving Tuesday, kind of want to give you an overview. First, I'm going to address why social media, what you can get from it. We're going to take a quick overview of some demographic information about the top 7 platforms, and those are just the 7 most popular. So you can, and you'll get the slides later, you can check it out and go back to it if you need to. I'm not going to dive too deeply into that. I want to be mindful of everybody's time restraints. So after that, I'm going to address 5 tips. So we're going to share some great tips, tricks, cheats, easy things you can do to get started. And utilize this for your social media, for Giving Tuesday, and beyond that, right? So let's get started. Looking at, let's see, I'm going to go forward here. Come on, slide. There we go, sorry. Okay. When you guys have an opportunity, because we can't share it here on the webinar, but there's this awesome video that I checked out, and it has some really amazing tidbits about the importance, why social media. Let's talk about that. Why is it? Well, go check this out later when you have a moment, but here are some highlights. 50% of the population is under the age of 30. That's a huge wake-up call. And it's, I'm not being ageist about like, oh, we should only focus on people under 30 by no stretch, but we really need to be paying attention to that if we are talking and wanting to engage and create our communities. So keeping that in mind, and also a fact that in 2018, the workforce is going to be made up of 50% of the workforce will be millennials. So that's going to make a big difference in really the way everything is viewed. And it's important for us to kind of take a look at everything through the lens of that information. So I really want that to sink in, wrap your brain around it. And to that point, today's college students most likely have never licked a postage stamp, which is interesting, but most of the postage stamps this year anymore are self-adhesive, so that kind of stands to reason. They also don't write checks. Often they don't even know how to write a check or how to address anything. So these are all things that we need to be keeping in mind and be thoughtful about as we're creating our campaigns. And this is a biggie. I mean, literally, if you were to take the size of the audience of Facebook, it would be the largest country in the world. It's amazing. So sheer volume, I mean, and that's been growing year after year. So it's really important to keep that in mind as well. Okay. These tidbits too also come from the video. So check it out. Literally 53% of millennials had said they would rather lose their sense of smell than their social media. So that's kind of important. It's what you need. I saw another stat about the number of, oh, it's down here too. There's another one where there are more mobile devices than toothbrushes. And I also read that I think millennials would rather go a couple of days without a restroom than without their Wi-Fi. So these are painting a little picture of the sensibilities and sensitivities of that demographic. It's important to keep that in mind. So a couple of other highlights from this, I think, are the attention span. What I really wanted to point out, our attention span, because we're being hit with messages constantly through multiple channels, has shrunk. And now on average, it's 7 seconds of attention span. So you stopped listening to me 2 minutes ago, sorry. A goldfish has 8 seconds. So just to put a little bit of a little benchmark there, we now have a lower attention span, oh goodness, than a goldfish. So that means that we need to be clear and we need to make sure that we're connecting. All right, so let's take a little bit. Everybody on this call knows that we need to be in there. We have to be out there and we have to be in social media. But the question really is where? How do you target your audience? And you need to figure out which types of social media they use. So what I'm going to do right now is take a little trip through, and we're going to take a little overview of each of the top 7 social media platforms. And my advice is this: take the top, I would say, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and at least those. Make sure that you're involved in it. Make sure you're planting your flag and have your name. So that's a tip. And if you haven't already, and then start delving into the others. It's definitely helpful for those who are beginners on this to start out with maybe one platform you're comfortable with, get comfortable, start a cadence, get a cadence going, and then once you're comfortable with that, then you can expand to other, other channels. So you don't have to do everything all at once. So Facebook, if your target audience, and hopefully you know who that is, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. If your target audience is basically anybody who's over the age of 18, there's a good chance that you can connect with them on Facebook. Now, if your target audience is under the age of 18, they probably are not going to be there. They're probably going to be either on Instagram, they'll be on Snapchat, so emerging technologies. I can speak from as the mother of a 17 and 14-year-old, and I can tell you that the 14-year-old will not be on Facebook because that's where her mother is. So keep that in mind. This also gives you some data as to how many women, how many men, but really we're talking over 2 billion monthly users. And a point I would like to underscore is that second bullet point, the 1.57 billion mobile daily users. Okay, the reason that's an important factoid is because people more and more are using their devices to see everything. And that's a reminder, even as you're putting together your newsletters, please make sure that it all replicates, it all displays properly on a mobile device. It's really important. 48% of the ages 18 through 34 check Facebook when they wake up in the morning. I can tell you I do that. I'm guilty. So it's a really good way for you to connect with people. And before we get to Twitter, I just want to remind you that the real goal with social media is to create community and really deepen the engagement level you have. So you want to be able to have conversations. It's going to be helpful for your organization in so many ways. One of those ways, of course, you want to be able to get people, get more exposure to more people. So that's helpful. It helps you connect with other people's networks of friends. And it could also eventually lead to donations, but really you need to be building it up with the goal, the primary objective being that you're building a community, and that will serve you a lot better than posting, hey, please donate to our cause. That's not going to get nearly as much engagement, I assure you. So let's move to Twitter. If your audience is primarily young men, this is going to be a great place for you to be. 317 million monthly users. You can see the stats on this. I don't want to spend too much time going into each and every one of these, but because we're a little bit limited, I'm sorry about that. If your audience is professional, so this is a great way. You're going to use LinkedIn for a professional face to the community. This is your great, this is really the channel to be using. Think about when you're, what you'd like to promote to people who are either on your board or people you would like to have be on your board. It's a great resource for finding people to connect with to build your board. So this isn't just about donations, obviously. This is also about that growing community and growing network. LinkedIn, keep in mind, this is a professional platform. The content that you're going to be sharing on LinkedIn is not going to be the same content that you're sharing on Twitter necessarily, nor will it be the same thing you post on Facebook. Facebook has much more casual. Twitter, obviously you're limited to the number of characters, but LinkedIn, you should always be thinking about it being a professional face of your organization. YouTube, and this is huge. So YouTube is younger, and this is one that should definitely be on your list. Add that to the top 3 that I mentioned at the beginning. Make sure that you're setting up your YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And I'll give you some tips on that in a couple seconds about ways to populate the content in there, because I know content creation is one of your concerns. So YouTube is actually the second largest search engine in the world. It's owned by the first largest, which is Google. It is the key to being discoverable, definitely tomorrow and pretty much today. And there are, 1 billion monthly users, approximately 2 million views per minute. I mean, it's crazy in terms of the amount of reach throughout the world. So it's really valuable. People tend to go to it, and younger audiences, especially those who are Gen Z and Millennials, tend to go to YouTube to find information when they're searching for it. Because I know if I'm looking for a recipe or if I'm looking for a how-to, I go to YouTube because I can actually watch the steps, and the video is definitely more helpful. So that's some ideas for your content creation as well. Pinterest, it's a great, if you are focusing, if your primary audience is women, this place, you need to be there. It has oodles, 150 million monthly users. It's very heavily dominated by women. That's why I said that. And the thing about content with Pinterest is that you can see here, life of a pin is 151,000 minutes versus 90 for a Facebook post. So your content has a lot more longevity on Pinterest. So that's something to keep in mind. And Instagram, fabulous and really popular, 600 million monthly users. The kids, how old do I sound? The kids who use Instagram, and the adults too, they tend to be brand followers. So if you're looking for a particular type of person, this is a person who loves brand. Image is extremely important in the Instagram posts. It's beautiful stuff. It looks great. Everybody wants to share and make sure that their food is well lit when they take their pictures. It's so thinking again about the way that you're sharing your content, this might be the best platform for you. So think about that. And ultimately, you want to make sure you create custom content for each of these channels. Doesn't mean you have to create all new content for each channel, but it does mean you need to tweak it so that it makes sense for that platform. Next, I wanted to the last one is Snapchat. So basically, if your audience is Millennials or Gen Zs or this growing group of cool moms who want to be able to relate to their Gen Z children, this is the place that you need to be. And it's different. They're not brand followers, so it's not the same kind, and it's definitely has a different look. You're going to completely miss the Gen Xers and baby boomers with this, quite frankly. And you can see too that it's 75% of the daily users are within North America. So that might be helpful for you to know as you're figuring out which platform works best for you. So let's get to the top 5 Giving Tuesday social media tips. First of all, let's get strategic. So every nonprofit organization really needs to do these following things. Create a content calendar. It's very simple, and in the material, in the recording or in the email that you receive, we included a link to our downloadable template. That's a fabulous tool. We use it at Top Nonprofits to collaborate. We use Google Drive, put it in there, and our team divvies up the workload, and we can track things, and you can customize it. You can customize the template to make it work for you. That's a huge tool. It's fabulous. It's free. Just download it and use it. We've had like 1 million downloads of it. Curate and craft posts for each social media channel. So that's kind of what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about a few seconds ago. One of the things that it's the biggest hurdle for everybody, because everybody's strapped for time and resources. How do I create the content? Well, you can ask people to share content. You can ask for guest bloggers. You can get your volunteers. You can get your board members involved. And again, you can always go back to using something like that content calendar in order to keep it all organized. But you really want to assign things, figure out who you're speaking to, know your audience, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I probably should have made target first, but let's get strategic about this. Put together a timeline. Now, Giving Tuesday, love it. It's right after Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So you know when it is, start working backwards, take that template, go back and start filling it in with the amount of time that you have left. And you can utilize, talking about strapped for resources, pull together a super user group. You know, those are they're heroes to us. What they are, the people who always comment on anything you've ever posted, or the people that you see all the time who say, hey, is there some way that I can help? Call on them to be part of this. And what they can do through social media is amplify your message to their network. It's a great way to further your reach. Let's also make sure promote campaigns across departments. And really what I mean by that is to take the different departments at your organization and make sure that everyone knows what that calendar consists of and what you're looking for. Because if you're in the development office, or you're in the your program manager, or your marketing, each of those different departments has different resources that can be utilized. And they can be pictures, they can be stats and figures. It could be that, somebody in the fundraising, the development office just created this great presentation, but the people in program didn't know about it yet because of this. So make sure you're talking to one another and sharing ideas and strategies, and you can really come up with a lot of good content that way. So number 2 is target, and I dare say I probably should have made that number 1, but really know your audience. You can develop donor personas, which you probably have. If you haven't, you definitely should, and that's really kind of taking the characteristics that you're seeing repeated and putting that together, and kind of putting together in your head an actual person who that represents. So let's say you have a woman who donates every month. She is a professional, and let's say she's an executive at a large company. She's a great person to connect with on LinkedIn, and you want to make sure that you have those personas lined up. Get together a piece of, I think you can go to canvas.com and put together that kind of strategy. It's really great for that. Segment communications. Now what I mean by that is, when possible, create segmentation. You may already be doing this, but for those of you who aren't, have different groups, different lists within your email list. I know it's a bit of a drag trying to pull all of that together, but it would be really helpful in increasing the engagement you have among your newsletter readers, or your constituents in general. They may not want to get something, if they're a volunteer, let's say, who puts in a ton of time, they may get a little offended when they receive an email asking for, as if they were not at all, as if it was a blind email to them, some kind of an ask. Whenever they're like, wow, I just dedicated like 30 hours last week of my time, 30 hours last month of my time, and this email says dear name. So you want to make sure that stuff's cool and clear. Use hashtags. It's a great way to get discoverable too, especially in Twitter, Facebook. Instagram is huge. So use the hashtags. Just off the top of my head, let's use hashtag Giving Tuesday, hashtag Unselfie. If you're an animal welfare organization, check out hashtag Catterday. Go on those different channels and see what are the ranking. You can pull up and see what are the most popular hashtags to help you get discovered. Find the ones that suit your organization and what your mission is. So number 3, let's use video. It's really exciting. It's compelling. It gets people's attention. 2 years ago, all of the rage was social media. Every post had to have an image. It has to be a great image. True, but now we're in video world. So now you're competing with moving images, and that can say so much. So a couple little tidbits as you're using Facebook Live or Instagram Stories, or any of the behind the scenes kind of things. What I would suggest, 2 things. If you're going to be using your iPhone, make sure you have it in a horizontal position so that it displays better. And also, whenever possible, go in and edit with use an editing tool and put subtitles on, because often, I know I do it myself, I will see a video in my newsfeed on Facebook, but I don't click on it to listen to the audio because I'm somewhere where I can't have it up loud. So I'm reading this, and that's really important if you want to get that message across. So make sure you're using that. How-to videos is something I wanted to mention. Those are amazing. Like I said earlier, a lot of people go to YouTube specifically to learn how to do something. And if you're a nonprofit organization that is trying to, get more eyeballs, think about something that people are searching for. And create an easy to, I just did one for an organization. I'm on their board, and I was creating a selfie frame for an upcoming appeal we have. And I thought, oh, here's what I'll do. I'll put this to use, what I've been learning, and take some video. So I shot a little bit video of each step. What we'll do is put it together and then post it on YouTube and share it with all of our members. We'll share it with all of our super users and try to get it out there. I'm sure it'll go viral. But in any case, even if it doesn't go viral, the point is that it helps bring more attention to your cause through something. And there was a great example of a ballet. I think it's a ballet organization. I'm sorry, I don't have the name of it in front of me, but it was really how to do a hair bun for ballet. And that how-to video ranked so high. It really did go viral. It's amazing, and it helped them get a lot more eyeballs. And that's what you really want. You want that discoverability, and so you can get creative with it, and it doesn't have to be terribly expensive either. So gain influencers, again, you want to have the people who have big connections. You want to have them be your social media ambassadors, right? And you maybe invite some people who have large followings. Here's my favorite. Like, sure, Leo DiCaprio, wouldn't it be great to have him be your influencer? Okay, it would be, but he's kind of busy with a couple of other things. But maybe we can find somebody on a local level who has a lot of influence in their area. Or maybe you can talk to, be creative. There's some local stars in your area who can really lend their name and credibility to your cause. That would be great. Another way to use influence, not just gain influencers, but one of the ways to use an influence as a tip for Giving Tuesday is, work with your board members or other folks who are major donors and make them a hero and record them writing a check, show a picture, show a video, and they're making a pledge in advance. And if our organization reaches this much, if you can donate and we hit this X amount, this check from Jeremy is going to get written and go to our cause. So you're going to help us if we hit our goal, and he's going to write a check matching the funds. So it's really a great way to influence people through your own way, as well as through people who have large networks. Finally, the tools you need. So I love this stuff. I totally geek out over the different types of tools that are out there. So I could go on about this forever, but there's a list here: images, schedules, collateral, photography, animations. So I recommend, I've used these tools. Let's see, I have used all of the tools on here. That's how they came up. And I encourage you to go check them out at your leisure. A lot of them, they're typically free or freemiums, so they are free to a certain level, and then beyond that, they are there might be an upcharge to have some extra bells and whistles. But the images, some of the images used in these slides, you can see photo credits down below. These came from Unsplash, and they're free images to use. And they just ask you can give the credit. You don't need to. So I highly recommend checking them out. They have fabulous, beautiful images that photographers take and share on this site. So it's super cool. Check it out. And let me see. There was one. I feel like there was one other thing. Oh, another thing that's not on this list, but I have to mention it. Uber Conference I've been using too lately. And if you do, which I do, if you do online or phone call interviews with people, and maybe this is a great way for you to get some more content, then what you want to do is try that out. It's free, and you can record them, and they turn into MP3s, and they're super easy to edit. You know, you can do it pretty easily in editing tool you use, Audacity, which is free, or maybe you use iMovie, or I'm sorry, GarageBand I use on my Mac. So anyway, here's some recommended resources. Social media today. These are actually things that I did cite within the slides, cited some information from each of these resources. So I wanted to make sure I included them. I don't think I had anything cited from John Hayden, but go to his site. He's fabulous. I probably referenced him in some of the anecdotal information I've shared. He gives great advice. And he very recently included a post about how you know, Giving Tuesday is a great launching pad for your content, for your social media strategy. And that's exactly what I wanted to, you know, underscore. So in closing, and of course, top nonprofits, go visit us. And you can click on that link to get several different, we have free different versions of the editorial calendar that you can use. So I guess my last words on the topic for you all are that, you know, now is the time to get started. It's a perfect time because soon you can see that the growing influence of social media is continuing to go that route. That Giving Tuesday has been a huge success and is becoming more successful every year. Fabulous. It's one day and you need to be prepared for it. And please, by all means, take advantage of the swell of information and the buzz around it, but also use it to be that springboard for getting started on a more of a holistic, regular media, social media marketing. And as Jessica, underscoring what Jessica said earlier, it's not just social media. I mean, all media is important. And mostly remember that it's there to help you engage with your community and build them and, you know, really help your tribe. So I recommend also going to givingtuesday.org. They have amazing tools there as well. Great place to get started. So with that, I think I'm all finished. Those are all the words I have.
Excellent. Thank you, Amy, for dropping some serious knowledge. Very much appreciated. Now on to our final speaker today, Jeremy Koenig, to discuss online giving strategies for maximum donations on Giving Tuesday. All yours, Jeremy.
Thank you, Alex. Jessica, Amy, you're an inspiration. We are so excited for Giving Tuesday this year. Here at MobileCause, our goal is to empower you with the online giving tools you need to make it as easy as possible for every donor in your database to make a donation of some amount, and then furthermore post an unselfie showing their support of your cause. So let's jump right into it. All right, I cannot emphasize the importance of unselfies. What an unselfie is, if you're not familiar, is on Giving Tuesday, people write handwritten notes on pieces of paper and then they post them on their social media profiles. One of the ways that you can get ahead of this, and one of the best ways to kick off your Giving Tuesday campaign, is actually to send this out to people. I have a link here for the PowerPoint as well as the PDF where you can insert your logo, you can insert your keyword, and you can insert your donation page link. And the further you can get ahead of this and the further you can train your team of ambassadors to post on Facebook, Facebook Live, Instagram Stories, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Pinterest, the more life and the more donations you're going to collect on Giving Tuesday. All right, now let's talk about text to give. So especially with the all of the media that's been going on in the buzz around the hurricanes and hurricane relief, you've probably started to see keywords everywhere. I'm here to tell you that every nonprofit in America can get a keyword to collect donations and get that set up in just a few hours. A few things to understand about keywords is that, and if you look at the screen here, we're highlighting one of our favorite nonprofits, Teen Challenge. An individual would simply text teen to 41444, and then they would immediately get back a text message reply that they click the link, and then it takes them to a mobile-friendly donation form. It's really important to put a video on that page. People actually, fundraising campaigns promoted by video raise 4 times as much money as campaigns that don't. A couple other things to consider are your suggested donation amounts, what recurring gift options you want to give donors, and then the overall shortness of the form. I have here some averages just as benchmarks for you to think about and plan. Text to give campaigns on social media, email, and text have an average gift size of $35. Television and radio have an average gift size of $65, and live events with a fundraising thermometer have an average gift size of $167. It's also important to know that when people text these keywords, if they don't click the link and fulfill their gift, they actually will receive 3 automatic text message reminders. What this does is it increases pledge fulfillment to 84%. So if you'd like to see this donation form on your own phone for yourself, I'd encourage you to text the word teen to 41444. So again, send a new text message, put in the short phone number 41444, and simply text the word teen as you see here on screen. All right, your website donation page. It's really important for you all to understand that no matter what your call to action is, roughly half of everyone who gives to your campaign is going to go to your website and click the donate button. And so what we recommend is that you actually, specifically on Giving Tuesday, but this is true for all campaigns that you want to measure, that you actually swap out your traditional donation page to your Giving Tuesday donation page. Another option is to create a drop-down at the top of your form in which people can select the campaign that you're featuring. A couple of very important things for you to understand about your donation page is that actually 80% of people select the second suggested donation amount. So I would encourage you all to A/B test, think about A/B test, and encourage donors to give specific amounts based on what you see in terms of your averages and historical averages of people's propensity to give. Also really important to recognize that mobile-friendly donation pages receive 34% more submissions. What this means is that when people click your donate button, if you don't have a mobile-friendly website, then that should just launch a donation page that is mobile-friendly so people can give easily from any device. Typically, nonprofits have about 50% of their traffic coming from smartphones, so this is important. A lot of nonprofits make the mistake of having lots and lots of fields on your form. We have found that when you reduce your contact fields from 11 to 4, it actually increases page submissions by 120%. We also have found that when you tell people why you are asking for their email, asking for their mobile number, in this case for a tax receipt and SMS confirmation, it instills confidence in people that they're giving you your information and that you're going to take care of it. All right, thanking donors. This is an extremely important step. As fundraisers, we all know that thanking donors and continually engaging them is perhaps the most important part of advancing our mission. And so what we recommend is that after a person texts your keyword or goes to your website and clicks the donate button and then completes a gift, that they immediately get redirected to a thank you page with an embedded video that auto plays. This creates a dynamic experience. And what it actually does is it prepares them to give more. And so it's the equivalent of you personally being able to say, or maybe one of your program recipients be able to say, thank you, you helped me. And specifically, giving on Giving Tuesday is much more than just money. It's actually about you as a person and the impact you are having on the lives and causes and missions of nonprofits. I want to take a minute to talk about tax receipts. So we actually believe that Giving Tuesday is the launching pad for year-end giving. If you don't know, 1/3 of all donations happen essentially between Thanksgiving and the end of the year. The last day of the year, more people make donations than any other day, and the second day that people donate more than any other day is actually Giving Tuesday. So it's very important that when people complete a donation, they get redirected to your video, and then they immediately receive a tax receipt with an email. What this does is it sets a precedent for them to make a tax-deductible donation at the end of the year. A little tip here that we have that we're really excited about is you can actually, within the MobileCause system, customize your receipt. And so we're encouraging our customers to put actually a link to their Unselfie that people can download, then print off, write on, and then post on social media. All right, last tip, recognize donors in real time. We've pioneered the use of fundraising thermometers here. And here's what we found over the years and years of thermometers continuing to be used and evolved within nonprofits. When people see their name on screen, when people hear their name being shouted out by speakers, it creates a community of donors. It creates a community of people that are passionate about a cause, and it inspires others to give and give in larger frequencies. Steve Harvey did this incredibly well during his Ride for Charity, where he literally, while streaming on Facebook Live, just read off his thermometer. $25 from Jerry King, $100 from Marcella Smith, $5,000 from Andy Morris. The more you can do this, the more you can repurpose your thermometer, the better. And just to explain technically how thermometers work is when anybody completes a donation or a payment of any kind on any form that's associated with your campaign, in this context, Teen Challenge Giving Tuesday, those donation totals as well as the names will populate on the screen. And so again, you can, fundraisers can put those on their phones, they can put them on their Facebook Live, they can put them on a projector at an event. And again, all you're trying to do is you're trying to inspire people to give and give again to reach your goal. With that, I am going to turn it back over to Alex to start our question and answer section.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Yeah, so we're going to switch gears for a few minutes just to answer questions that folks may have. So let's see. Start with our first question here for you, actually, Jeremy. How do you keep Giving Tuesday ideas fresh?
I would say keep your campaign branded to your organization. So, for example, just look at your donor database and then find fun and new and compelling ways that relate to your cause and your brand to inspire people to post on Facebook Live, to put an Unselfie on Instagram. And again, I cannot reiterate enough, the more creative ways you can coordinate with your donors and with your ambassadors, the better. I will add this, when people post an Unselfie, they're actually giving as well. And so you really are not only collecting donations, but then you are in turn reaching a whole new demographic of potential donors through their networks of friends and family.
Excellent. Okay, well, next question here is for Amy. How would you find out which channels specific audiences are actually using?
So the first step I would take is go back, look at the slides and see what the demographics are of each of those channels, those popular channels. You can also go to social media, a couple of those resources that I listed in there, and get some stats. And really what you want to do is figure out who your audience is and tailor it to that. Those would be my suggestions.
Sure. Excellent. Amy, another question here for you. Where do you see the most promotion of Giving Tuesday campaigns, and does it seem to get overly saturated?
Sure. So it can't be overly saturated. I mean, use the hashtag, use it in Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and help get the message out there, because the more the people that see it, the better. And I can certainly say, you get everyone gets a lot of emails on Giving Tuesday. So it's a good way to help get outside of, rise above all the noise and the filled up email boxes too.
Excellent. Okay, a question here for Jessica. Who would you include as part of any planning or strategy sessions for the campaign? Staff, volunteers, board members?
That is a great question, and yes. I think the first question for Jeremy, when when you ask keeping ideas fresh, I think one of the best ways to do that is to have a Giving Tuesday team internally that's diverse. Giving Tuesday, we know from our surveying, is a time when 75% of organizations experiment, try something new, and ideas can come from anywhere. So I think when you're putting together a team, development officers, people from marketing, but also think about people who just are going to be excited about this project. I can speak from my personal experience the first year at 9TY when we were doing Giving Tuesday and someone had the idea. I was working on webcasting at the time and other stuff relating to our content, and just the idea really spoke to me and I brought a new energy. So I would say think big, send an all-staff email, see who wants to be part of the team, get some donuts and coffee and brainstorm. But I will say yes to board members, yes to leadership. We know one of the most powerful things on Giving Tuesday is a match. If there's a board member who wants to be associated with that, it's a great opportunity.
Excellent. Thanks, Jessica. And Jeremy, last question here for you. What are ways that you've seen campaign thermometers used on social channels?
Yeah, so probably the coolest way is to just live stream your campaign, whether it's a gala or it's a Giving Tuesday Day of Giving campaign or a run walk. You can actually take your thermometer and put it up on a television screen behind you so that people can actually see donations appear in real time. So literally when the reaction is when see the thermometer, they think to themselves, I want to give so that I can see my name appear on screen right now. Facebook allows that to be done essentially across the whole world in real time. So very, very cool.
Excellent. All right. Now, if you're interested in discovering how to accelerate your fundraising and donor engagement programs, you can actually speak directly with an expert at MobileCause by calling the number up on the screen here, 888-661-8804, or by visiting mobilecause.com/free consultation. All right, so that's about all we have time for today. Thank you to all of our wonderful presenters and speakers, and thank you for listening to this recording and attending. You'll receive the webinar recording and a slide presentation shortly here. And stay tuned for Giving Tuesday a Giving Tuesday infographic and ebook in the coming weeks, and our next webinar next month, where we'll cover how to create an effective year-end planning idea. All right, so that all being said, have a great day, everyone. Thanks for attending our webinar, and see you next month.